なんということだ。歩いて数日の近くにそなたたちがいる
Two of you.
少しやつれたか。だが前にも増して美しい。ヒャルティは元気か。もう大きくなったのであろうな。
あ、
さあ帰ろう、3人で。
oh,
私たちの家。
so they had a child, but there's,
その手を取るな、アルネイズ。
oh my god, it's all happening. Can he go up against Snake?
こいつちょっと変だぜ兄貴。さっきも一瞬追われてること忘れてたんじゃねえか。
トカゲがやられたってのは本当か。
はい、頭を割られて。
Fuck.
そうか。
That's that.
貴様がケティルか。
だったらなんだ。
He's trying to see. He's trying to see. Gauge. Such a dynamic shift. Tonal shift in the score.
やめろエイナル。ヘビさんに切りかかるつもりなのか。事情なら分かってる。アルネイツさんの亭主が彼女を助けに来たんだ。アルネイツさんに自由になってほしくないのかよ。欲しいさ。けど状況を見ろ。3人倒さなきゃ逃げられないんだぞ。お前に人が殺せるのか。相手が逆人だろうと誰だろうと、この斧で人を殺せるのか。だってじゃあどうすれば
My
いいんだよ。
goodness.
賢明だな、トルフィン。お前らそこでおとなしく見てろよ。こいつは生け捕る。
Oh.
一
Oh.
応尋問して身元を改めねえとな。
Snake can really use this, right? He can use his rage to kind of. But again, one single misstep, he.
生け捕れる相手じゃねえよ兄貴。
つうかお前ら、あいつに人たち入れたのか。
Careful, pay attention.
あ、いや、恥ずかしながら。
あいつ手負いだぞ。
Yet he's still.
怪我人相手に3人がかりで負けてんじゃねえよ。
Holy shit.
アナグマ、こいつ縛っとけ。
Right then.
すげえ。あっちゅう間に決めちゃった。
Think smart, fight smart. Now this becomes really fascinating, doesn't it?
見逃してあげられませんか。こんなのあんまりだ。
奴は俺の手下を殺した。他でも殺しをした疑いがある。しかも旦那に殺意を持ち、旦那の気に入りのアルネイズをさらう気でいる。
Darling. So even Snake knows about that setup. I'm still thinking of this potential child he mentioned. Clearly not in the picture anymore, but the fact that he doesn't even know it. He must be so big by now. Oh, beautiful. My goodness. Oh. Ooh. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
エイナル待て。
エイナルさん、座っていてください。 もうすぐお夕飯ですから。
何もしなかったら旦那さんは確実に処刑されるんですよ。
Oh.
ありがとう。でもいいんです。どうにもならないことってあるわ。
She's strong. She's trying to be strong for sure.
何もしない方がいいの。
But inside it's killing her.
嵐が過ぎるのを待つの。エイナルさんまで嵐に巻き込まれないで。結婚なんて親同士が決めるものだけど、彼は私と息子に優しい人だった。
たとえヘビさんたちとやり合うことになっても何もしないよりました。 そうだろトルフィン
Gramps is listening in to all of this, of course.
頼むトルフィン力を貸してくれ俺が見張りを引きつけるからお前は
私はお鍋のせいで息子を失いました。
Okay, there it is.
少し私のことを
Yes, please
お話
do.
しさせていただけま
Please
すか
do. Now, you know, I saw the hair, her hair tied back like, yes, of course he's listening. Wow. Love the lighting here, man.
昔の話を
Always a treat to learn about the past. Now, the opening to episode 1, was that her? Possibly? And maybe Gardner? I'll have to go back and look again, but yeah, could be. Oh, yes. And they're holding a baby, right?
豊かでも貧しくもなくごく平穏に
It is. It is. Yeah, it is. Oh my god. How cool.
争っている人たちの中にはガルザルの友人もい
So you
て
felt the need to...
彼に助けを求めてきた
Oh yeah, that's them. It's him.
戦いに参加するか
戦い。
否か勝てば鉄が手に入ります。男たちの下した決断は
But if you lose,
参加でした。
you stand to lose quite a bit.
私たち女はそれを聞いてびっくりしました。
Wow. Lost my son because of
それ
pots.
でも
That's
男たちの決定を女が覆すことはできません。どうして入りもしない者のために命を懸けるの？
アルネイズ
unhinged.
奴の一族が鉄を手にすれば一帯の均衡は崩れるだろう。
So at some point they got separated.
キャルティそ
Oh.
なたを守るために父は戦うのだぞ。
理解できませんでした。
こら、いたたた。
守るためなら一緒にいてくれればいいのに。
And yeah. It left them open for an attack.
若い男は皆戦へ赴き、残された女と子供は家を守り、数週間が経ちました。
It's not the best planning, is it?
そして
Fuck. Oh my god. Oh no.
船を見たとき、
No.
男たちが帰ってきたのだと思いました。
They baited them. Oh my god.
家は焼かれ、老いた者は
And
殺
the
され、
young.
女は船に乗せられ、連れ去られました。私はヤルティを
Oh my god. The voice acting though. Oh my god.
今日ガルザルに会って彼を恐ろし
There's
い
a
と
man
感じました。
possessed. Pharaoh.
きっとたくさんの苦しみが彼を変え
It
てしまっ
has.
たのでしょう。
It has.
今は彼こそが嵐そのものです。
The oncoming storm, eh?
今度こそ私は男たちの嵐から子供を守らなければなりません。
Huh?
コード
No. No.
つい先日分かりました。
Kettle's kid?
今私のお腹にはケティル様のお子がいます。旦那様はきっとこの子を歓迎してくれるでしょう。
My
子
god.
供を欲しがっていらしたから、この農場ならきっと平和に健やかにこの子を育てることができます。このまま嵐が過ぎ去るまで
Can you do that? Stay here. Oh. Love the animation on the trees there. Oh. Oh. Whoa. He knows. He's up. He's up.
嵐が過ぎるのを待つんじゃ
Oh,
なかった
look at this. My
アル
goodness.
ネイズ
聞いていらしたんですか？
Always.
旦那様、せめて傷の手当てだけでも。
Careful.
わかるんです。もう会うべきではないと。なのにどうして？
It's only natural.
わしもかつてじっと耐えて嵐をやり過ごしたことがある。
Hmm. Do tell.
いや、隠れておったのだ。震えながら、その頃ケティル、息子は東京の美しい娘と愛し合っておった。だがある日、その娘が近隣で力を伸ばしていたエッベという男に見初められてしまい、わしらは苦しい決断を迫られた。わしは保身のために一人の娘を差し出したのだ。そして娘が嫁いだ日、
No.
エッペの富を妬み憎しみを抱いた男の仕業だった。
なぜいつもこんなことばかり。
嵐はやり過ごすことはできても傷跡は残していくということだ。
Wow. Wow. I mean,
すぐ戻ります。
wow, this is an incredible episode. Wow. Okay, so episode 14. Yeah, my goodness. Folks, at this point, this is episode after episode. You know, it's not letting up. You know, it's not a case of just, oh, a run of a few good episodes. This is just going from strength to strength, episode by episode. My goodness. You know, I said it in the last episode's discussion as well. You know, I'd be shocked to find out if there is an anime as good as this or better than this season. And, you know, again, it just feels like that's probably a tough task. Of course, it also comes down to your subjective opinion of it as well. You know, just because I'm saying, you know, this is hard to top doesn't mean other anime isn't better for some. But I feel like even from an objective standpoint, you know, some of the things that make it so incredible are just things everyone can see, that everyone can agree with and on. You know, this is episode after episode of compelling, gripping, multifaceted, high drama, mature drama in this form, in anime form. My goodness, it just induces this soul-shattering empathy. This episode just it did a number on me once again. Terrible things happening to good people that ended up in terrible situations. And listen, folks, you know, honestly speaking, I'm not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel at this point, right? It's, you know, there's quite a bit of a rough patch to go through here. The storm is not letting up just yet. The storm is just brewing. It is in full, it's beginning to kind of set into full motion at this point, right? And that's just this phase of it, right? There's still Canute out there. And then I'm also thinking of Kettle. How the hell is he going to deal with any of this? My goodness, he's about to be hit by a tsunami. I don't know. I just don't know how he could possibly handle this. You know, I just don't think anything good's about to come out of any of this. I mean, at this moment in time, you know, I have this really distinct feeling of dread. You know, oncoming storm, and Arnheid just stepped into it, right? Of course, you know, after a fantastic cameo appearance by Gramps, who is essentially one of the standouts of this season, one of the standout ensemble cast members. He is just so useful to the story progression, to the character development for many of them, right? Einar, Thorfinn, Arnheid. You see that he almost kind of gives her this gentle push, right? I think because of this talk, this moment that just happened, she is ready to step out and take that chance. Perhaps sometimes it is better to face the storm instead of being full of regrets and scars down the line, right? So I thought it was really quite a timely and poignant story that he shared from 20 years ago. You know, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. My goodness. And, you know, I think I have perhaps a bit of a new perspective on Kettle as well after that story that he shared, Gramps. You kind of do get an understanding for Kettle and his approach to life perhaps from that point on. You know, to lose something you love, that is a feeling that he simply does not want to feel ever again. That's a position he never wants to be in ever again. So he goes to accumulate wealth, high position, gets himself in a position to never be in that position ever again. So yeah, you know, there's a lot of nuance there for Kettle as well. You know, Kettle, you know, I kind of switch back and forth. And listen, folks, he's not going to let that happen again. He's just not, right? He submitted back then, all that time ago, 20 years ago, the love of his life. Never again. I simply cannot see how he could ever submit again after, you know, going through that, having the scars of that, and then building this. Yes, even though Gramps is spot on, you know, ultimately it does kind of end up bringing Canute's attention towards the farm, and that's a whole different storm altogether. That's just next in line, you know? Like I said, there's just no end in sight at the moment, right? It just feels like nothing good is about to come out of anything anytime soon, right? You know, Arnheid stepped out there. She made the choice. You know, yeah, at this point, maybe it's for closure. Maybe it's to, you know, kind of gauge how he is mentally, his psyche. Because, yeah, you know, she felt afraid of him. He is a changed person. I mean, even the presentation itself, you know, they are showcasing him or depicting him as this, I don't know, feral beast, right? Isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy that it's almost depicted as this monstrous intrusion? But then at one point, this almost meta thing happens as you have Einer's character, or through Einer's character, you know, the truth of the matter is kind of put out there. This is her husband, and he's here to save her from a life of slavery, right? And then run off together. That's the truth of the matter, you know, and Einer felt that he had to step in and just voice that. Like, he just felt like, am I crazy? Like, hold on. But, you know, ultimately, of course, you know, that's just the situation they find themselves in. They just don't have those rights. And then, of course, beyond that, there's even a bit of commentary on the life of a woman in that era. Even if you're free, you know, you are sometimes at the mercy of a man's ego, pride, right? And sometimes all you can really do, even as a free person, is to just hang back and just hope that the storm passes, because other than that, you have no other option, right? And unfortunately, you know, as showcased in her backstory, this time around, nothing good came out of it, right? Of course, us as the audience kind of has hindsight, but if you look back at it, Gardner's decision, you could argue perhaps it's rooted in a bit of greed, perhaps, right? Ego, pride, but also, you know, a chance to secure your family and their future. Give them a better future. Give them a secure future, right? There's a lot of moving pieces there. But ultimately, it's a bad move. That choice, that one choice, and then you see the butterfly effect of that choice, right? I mean, it's really quite foolish, I think, to leave, you know, the women and children just by themselves, right? And leaving no one else behind, no men at all behind. Yeah, sure, you know, you don't even need hindsight to kind of just say that, yeah, that's just a bit of a terrible move. That's a terrible choice altogether. And unfortunately, they got raided, right? It was the perfect scenario, perfect situation for a raid. And then, of course, I spoke of the butterfly effect of that choice. This is the first time he's seen them since. And since then, you know, he's been enslaved. So, going off didn't actually even pay off because clearly they got defeated and sold into slavery themselves and himself, Garter, that is. Arnheid got kidnapped, sold into slavery. She gets raped. And now she has someone else's child. Now, of course, that being said, she is really quite protective of this child. And it's almost as if she has a second chance to protect a child, to protect this child from men's storms. But, let me circle back to Einar. This is the friend of the year. My God. This is a legend. This man is a legend. Protect him. Protect him at all costs. The moment he sees that rare opportunity, that rare opening to potential freedom for his friend, Arnheid, he jumps on it. No other thoughts, right? He looks beyond all of that. She does have a partner, she has a husband, and all that doesn't matter. The thing that matters most is that this is his friend, and she's in a really tough situation in terms of potentially ever gaining freedom, but this presents an opening. And you see, he's almost immediately ready to jump in, right? But of course, Thorfinn has to kind of reel him back in and help him realize, of course, I would love for her to be free as well, but think about it, man. Think about it rationally. There's just nothing much that you can do at this point, right? And that must just hurt so much. To be that helpless, my God. And I thought the depiction of that is really quite impactful, isn't it? There's a silence inside of the cabin, and the sound design there is so effective as well, right? The cracking of the fire, and just the small, subtle noises. And then, of course, Einar can't take it anymore, right? He just cannot keep to himself anymore. And then Arnheid also kind of does a job here, doesn't she? In terms of calming him down, reeling him back in as well. She had to kind of step in a few times. The second time, she offers to tell them about herself and her past, and through that, us, the audience, as well, right? As expected, wholesome, normal life, good people, wholesome people, right? Just living a life that is good enough. Nothing special, but good enough. And, it's heartbreaking to see Garter like that as well, in comparison to the person he is now. And then, of course, and that kind of doubles as Arnheid also looking at this man that she used to know once upon a time, right? But of course, it's only natural that deep inside, she still wants to go to him, to talk to him, Of course, if she didn't go, it would have been spot on. Gramps would have been spot on. You're always going to have the scars regardless, right? The regrets would have cut so deep. It would have haunted her forever if she didn't at least go out there and speak to him. So she made that step. She's out there now. But again, I just don't see how anything good is going to come out of this. There is going to be consequences. And she was about to tell Garter that their son is gone. I mean, of course, there's no on-screen death, but you can infer that, they must have taken care of the child. My goodness, it just feels so sad to even say that. But yeah, surely that kid's dead. But, continuing on her backstory, of course, it takes a heartbreaking turn, doesn't it? Oh my God, it becomes so difficult to just watch, doesn't it? To see this happen to such nice people, it just kills you inside, man. And you see it's reflected in Thorfinn's reaction as well, because he himself has perpetuated something similar in the past. He's been a part of raids like these, right? He's taken part in these. Maybe even if he wasn't actively killing these people, but he was still there. He was still facilitating some of these raids. He was still a part of it nonetheless. He actively overlooked it, or he took part in it in some capacity because he had tunnel vision, because he only cared about one thing. And now he's listening to a friend retell a story that just sounds so familiar to him. It's so fantastic, the animation, the storyboarding. Again, a standout, beautifully directed and storyboarded. But that expression on Thorfinn's face, wow. You just feel that it's just this mix of guilt and anger hatred, perhaps for himself, right? Self-hatred in that moment. And then, beyond that, of course, just a lot of sadness and pity for the things that happened to her, a new friend that he's made. It's difficult, and it's clearly by design for it to be this difficult to watch. And also, of course, as an expecting mother, yes, of course, she wants the best for her child, right? Kettle's child. She's really protective and she wants to give this child a good life. And she thinks he'll be accepted. But then on the other side of it, there's just this element of unease, it being Kettle's child and her being in that situation, right? Essentially, she does get raped. She does. She has no agency, no choice in the matter. So I don't know, man. Oh, God. It's crazy, isn't it? Because on one end, I felt happy for her, right? That she has this, she has a second chance at a child. But then almost immediately, I was just so disgusted with Kettle. Just disgusted all around in terms of the treatment of these people. But then speaking of Kettle and his property, you've got Snake, who's on the job, right? And you see he's damn good at his job. Yes, Garter in that state is quite menacing, quite a scary prospect to go up against. But, Snake reads the situation, uses the situation to his own advantage, and quite easily takes him out, doesn't he? Knocks him out as well after that. He kind of targets that injury, the injured spot, and takes him out. Kind of uses that momentum against Garter, doesn't he? You become predictable in that sense. And Snake used it, right? But even so, there's a moment, he had to realize, okay, I still have to be careful, man. Because this man right now, he could chop someone in half because he's just filled to the brim with rage at that point. So, he had to be careful. But, as expected, he took him right out. And then, of course, he also got a bit of information out of him in terms of motive, right? Garter asked him, are you Kettle, right? And Snake kind of plays along because he wants to hear this response. So he knows his intentions. And of course, now he knows he intends to kill the master, right? His employer. But Kettle, is he going to have the resolve to handle this? All of this that's coming at him. I don't know, man. This is not something most could handle. So I'm not even sure how the hell Kettle's supposed to handle this. To have the resolve to handle this, especially given how they've already kind of set him up earlier in the series as well. And then, his attachment and obsession towards Arnheid, right? Yeah, I simply don't see how he could possibly ever submit again. Let another one go like he did all that time ago, right? He never wants to feel that helpless ever again. And then, of course, you kind of see his trajectory from that point on. But then, of course, that also brings on other problems because Canute is next in line after all of this. And lastly, how incredible is the voice acting for Arnheid? My goodness. Oh. It's got to be one of the best performances so far in this series, in this season. My goodness. And, this could just be the beginning of it, right? I might get to see a bit more of her performance in the next few episodes. I might get to see a lot of fantastic performances in the next few episodes. And then, of course, lastly, you cannot forget Yamada's incredible score. Really, really elevating the material once again. But yeah, that should do it for this one, folks. Another incredible episode. I'd say it's one of the standouts of the season as well. And I'm loving this focus on Arnheid, finally, right? And then, of course, you've got Garter as well. And then, these next few episodes, perhaps, promise to be something special indeed. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, excuse me. If you are interested in timer-based full length or full opacity or early access to some of the other series on the channel, stuff like Monster, Hunter x Hunter, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel as well. Links in the description and the pinned comments, also links to social media, things like Twitter and Instagram, if that's your thing. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time. because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for something that promises to be quite special from the looks of it, from the sounds of it. Until then, take it easy.